Welcome to Saints on Cinema. I'm Tim Wilde, and in California is Josh Edlow. He's my partner. And we have with us Zach and Rhett.
Hey guys.
Both of them who are,
Star Wars enthusiasts.
Star Wars enthusiasts and cinematic enthusiasts and media specialists. Yeah, whatever.
I do film distribution. Rhett does. I technically do distribution too, but
in a different, much different aspect.
A much different
more
aspect.
technical side of distribution.
Anyway,
all of us are very big fans of Star Wars, and this is our feature for Saints on Cinema is discussing Star Wars, not disgusting Star Wars. Discussing Star Wars.
Some people think it's disgusting.
They do.
No.
We're going to be talking about The Last Jedi. So I wrote my review, and I gave the story a 0 out of 2, and that was before it was released. And Josh saw that, and he was already arguing with me about that it couldn't possibly be that bad. He hadn't even seen the movie yet.
Think about that, though. Let's just look at it mathematically. Literally, no redeeming value.
Okay.
0.
Yes, I agree with that, though. Because give it a 0 out of 2 seems that the story itself is beyond any sort of
That there's
redemption,
no
positive qualities at all.
One and
There was nothing. You basically said,
okay,
really cool special effects, story sucked. That was your review.
There's some special effects that redeem the bad special effects, but the story is just beyond redeeming.
That's funny because there are some bad special effects.
There are.
Can't you do like decimals? Couldn't you do a decimal like a 0.5?
I would give it a 0.5 out of 2 then. That's about that would be
so
fine.
8.5.
Oh, so
but
you
that
don't do
means
decimals. That's why it has.
But
the
then
8.5.
the
We're getting them, guys. We're getting them back up there.
1.5.
Okay.
All right, so we can let me explain the 0 out of 2 in just a second. But first, I have a spiritual thought to get us started with our discussion. I found a quote by President Monson. We know that the overall theme of this movie is failure. Failure, yes. And there's a lot of failure. Character Poe has some failure, a lot of failure. The delivery of an exciting side story of his was a failure by the director.
Ray fails.
Okay.
Ray fails.
Snoke
I think
failed.
that's going to come
Kylo
back.
failed. Ray failed. Phasma failed. And we all know, in certain aspects that we'll talk about, Luke also failed. And I found this quote by President Monson that I really liked. And it says, "Our responsibility is to ride from mediocrity to competence, from failure to achievement. Our task is to become our best selves. One of God's greatest gifts to us is the joy of trying again, for no failure ever need be final." And I love the scene with Yoda, and I love the lesson that he talked. I talked to Rhett extensively about this point, that Luke doesn't fail. I mean, he does. And a lot of people, whenever I criticize Luke in this movie, everyone says, "Tim, you just don't like him having weaknesses." No, he's always had weaknesses. He's always failed a lot of things. And he was always, rushing into situations, and he wasn't thinking things through. But it wasn't his not being this perfect, almighty, powerful Jedi that's all wise and perfect. That's not why I didn't like his story arc. I love that he had weaknesses and messed up. But the thing is as Yoda told him, you need to pass on those failures. And did he? That's the thing with Luke, and that's a conversation we'll get to in a minute. But
yes, that did. But anyway,
Ray doesn't need to learn anything from Luke. She can do it all on her own.
Right?
She just does it.
But that's I think the overall theme of this movie is that your failures are what make you, and he learned a lot from his failures, as do all the characters in the movie. But as President Monson said, our failures don't need to be final, and that we can grow and we can progress from them. So that's the spiritual thought. I think that's really cool. That's a good thing to get out of the movie is that, things that we have as weaknesses, we don't need to hide all those things inside. Everyone's imperfect, and we have obstacles. We're all different, but we can learn from each other's mistakes, and that's a really cool thing. It's not permanent. We can always repent, and that's all awesome. All right. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be moderating the conversation, and I've had a lot of conversations with Rhett, a lot of conversations with Zach. Rhett's wife came home last night, and she was like, "You guys are still talking about this movie?" I said, "Yeah, of course we're still talking about this movie. It's been 3 weeks." And Josh, other than having responded to my criticism about my review, I haven't talked to you about this at all from when you saw the movie on Christmas. So I'm very curious about what you have to say, except for your post on Facebook was that your favorite part of the movie was the story. Even though I gave it a 0. So before we get into the points, we're going to go through the points of my review, and I get from various conversations, I want to hear what certain people say. But let me explain the 0, okay? So I had to
okay, let's hear the no intrinsic value story.
Okay, so it's I have 5 categories for my review for my score. One category is the story. How the plot's told, what the story is, and kind of how it delivers, and if it makes sense, and if it flows and everything. And this plot was very... It had a lot of issues for me, and as we're going to go through. But the thing is just the plot itself, I knocked it down to a 1. Just for the plot, the slow space chase, the weird stuff on the casino planet that totally didn't flow with the rest of it, didn't make sense where they're going. It didn't explain kind of very clearly what was happening the whole time. So, I mean, all those things put together, I dropped it just from that. But then, some of the critical decisions that were made in the writing about the main characters, I felt deserved another drop. So, one was just for what the story was and how it was told, and the other one was for decisions that were such a big deal to me and such a disappointment that I put it in the story category. Now, as I said, I could put it back in that and give it a 1 out of 2 for the story and drop the characters down to a 1. But either way, it's still an 8 out of 10. And for the record, I've told everyone it's a fantastic movie. Go see the movie. I've never had any problems with it.
There's no one I've said you have to go see it and just judge for yourself, because some people love it, some people hate it. There's definitely lots of surprising, interesting things that happen, whether you like it or not. Like, you need to go see it.
Right. So I've never discredited it, and I think it's a really well done movie. It's a gorgeous movie, cinematically and everything is fantastic. But the story and some of the writing was not well executed and not satisfying for a lot of fans. So that's the thing.
So here's my question.
Okay.
Here's my question. I feel like what this is a situation where, like, you know how you have sometimes you'll like read a book and then you'll go see the movie, and the movie won't be as good as the book because in your head you imagined it being a certain way, and it just will never be that way. I think that that's what you're dealing with, but I think that there's no book. It's just your imagination that you've had. This is where you thought it should go, and because it didn't go the way you thought it should go, you're critical. You're more critical of it than you should be. I agree. There were probably plot holes, and there were things that didn't make sense. I agree with that. But I don't think it deserved a 0, and I think you're just more critical because it didn't work out the way you wanted it to.
So here's where I'll defend Tim, although I think a 0 out of 2 is wrong. It's not just that. It's not that it didn't go the way people wanted. It's that it felt more like Rian Johnson was doing everything he did just to be shocking and not to continue the story. It was, I'm just going to turn it on its head and shock the audience. Right. It's like, no, how does this actually progress the characters, or how does it do that?
Story.
And most of them don't. Most of them arguably don't continue the story. They end it abruptly.
But also, arguably, they do.
So I just want to hear,
so wrong.
Before we get into the specific bullets, Josh, I want to hear your just a very brief overall feel why you love the story so much. That's what you said your favorite thing was.
Okay, well, first of all, it was probably my favorite thing because it was your least favorite thing. So that was
just
probably
me. You're right, Johnson.
I didn't really like the story, and I think the reason I like the story was because I love it when they show main characters as not being perfect, right? Like, I like it when they fail.
Right.
I loved that. That's why, everybody now knows, at least and, the viewers will eventually realize that my favorite series is Rocky. That's all about failure, but not it's failure, but being successful in your failure. And I think that's what I liked about this, was that it was imperfect, and almost all of the characters were imperfect. I mean, even Kylo Ren was an imperfect villain.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's what I liked about it. It wasn't what I expected, and that's what I liked about it. I'm still upset that Luke didn't turn to the dark side as I'd hoped, but I thought it was really good. And I thought, I thought that I enjoyed it, and also I think I have this unique ability to actually be a Star Wars fan and enjoy Star Wars, at least more than just 2 of the 9 movies. So
that is a rare gift nowadays.
It is. Even our buddy said he feels like his love of Star Wars is pure nostalgia. Like, he doesn't think the movies are any good anymore. He's just pretty much done with the movies.
See, and I think it's very clear by the Rotten Tomatoes score that it's a well-done movie, just disappointing the fans. That's why it's rated so high by the critics.
Which, by the way,
they don't care.
I'm going to point this out on here, because everyone has read the one article, not the other. Rotten Tomatoes has said, as far as they can tell, those scores are legitimate.
Yeah.
That there's no alt-right hacking of the tomato meter score for the audience score.
On top of that, the audience score is down to 51% as of either yesterday or the day before.
So it keeps crawling down.
That's probably going down.
That's probably because of influence of other people.
Yeah,
I'm guess. I'm guessing it was.
But the first weekend, what was it?
It was getting up. It was like 57% or something like that. That
That's
might
first
be more
impression.
accurate.
That's before all the discussion for 2 weeks.
The average going down is because people are jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
I think so.